But that's one route they could go. Do you guys have any other thoughts of a different route they could go, maybe?
Sure.
Yeah.
Fixed trading, bring back Harvest, auction house.
Path of Exile, Copium.
GGG's been stalling harder in POE 1 than we have on this keynote. So, yeah, no, I'm just hoping for big bosses and a big wrap up to the story. Again, the thing we're seeing behind us, you know, it is a little bit of a possibly an ascended Xana-like creature. I don't quite know how that works out lore-wise. Maps are timeless, all this sort of stuff. I think they might be going big. I remember last time it was Metamorph, and was met with Conquerors of the Atlas as well. So that was a pretty good combo.
Yeah.
Definitely a very enjoyable league.
Conqueror's sick.
Hopefully no picking up of organs this time.
Okay. Automatically picking up organs.
Gonna call them out right now. Oh yeah, we're getting, because we're reacting later on to what we're gonna be seeing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we can call them out. Good.
What about you, Nugi?
Oh, it's a tough one. I mean, a big wrap-up would make sense if it is really the last POE 1 league.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just like Rai said earlier, blow it all up. Like Rai said earlier, blow it all up.
When POE 2 comes out as well, because we've had some invasions from otherworldly entities recently, and that's certainly been hinting and leaning towards otherworldly entities recently, and that's certainly been hinting and leaning towards otherworldly entities recently, and that's certainly been hinting and leaning towards otherworldly entities recently, and that's certainly been hinting and leaning towards otherworldly entities recently, and that's certainly been hinting and leaning towards otherworldly entities recently, and that's certainly been hinting and leaning towards.
Well, goddamn. Well, goddamn. Trying to get the audio to work. Well, goddamn. Oh, I know what it is. The audio to work. Well, goddamn. Oh, I know what it is. It's this. I got it now. How am I not? How am I not? How am I not? Oh wow, that's gonna be a pain in the ass.
the thing that propels you forwards in chunks through the game and through the end game, and then more interesting arenas, more interesting fights, and that's something I hope to see a lot of today. Hopefully, is like some cool boss fights. I know we've got like 30 minutes or something of gameplay time live on stage, so.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
And
Also, I've heard.
difficult gameplay, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So they've ramped it up.
You were mentioning, Rise. You'd heard something about that.
Yeah, the difficulty is supposed to be through the roof. So if you're a player that's a little bit concerned about what you're going to be seeing here, if you're a father of 17 children and you've got the dishes to do and you can only play 20 minutes a month, I think don't worry about it too much. I think there's going to be plenty of gameplay for everybody.
Yeah, you won't run out anytime soon in that situation.
I think so. Well, I hope so.
Any, we're almost to wrap up time and moving over to the main stage, but any final thoughts that you guys want to throw in? Anything you hope to see or anything like that? We've got 2 minutes, Noogie.
You turn to me.
Yeah.
Final thoughts. I just want to see passion.
Yeah.
I just want to see passion and just people just giving us everything they've been building. It's predictions. I really at this point I just don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe an MTX. I would like to see a toucan. You know?
A toucan?
Yeah, that would be nice.
What about you, Maple?
I will just love to see a nervous Chris Wilson up on stage.
Yes.
Like, for as much nerves as I'm having right now, like doing this sort of thing and waiting for the reveal, it pales in comparison to getting on stage and revealing everything for the past few years and just seeing someone so excited about their game.
Yeah, I know they're all like super excited, but also super nervous. I saw a lot of them before, and yeah, you can feel that excitement. Rise, any closing thoughts, mate? Before we sprint over so we get our seats.
Yeah, absolutely, Dad. I mean, everybody from the GGG side has felt really, really excited. We were trying to get them drunk at some of the parties. They weren't having it. They're well trained.
Ah, no spoilers.
Yeah, really, they weren't giving us anything.
No, that's good. They were more so than last time, even. Also, I've got to remind you, folks, if you're watching live on Twitch, don't forget to connect your Twitch and Path of Exile account so you can get drops access to. Was there like a cool hideout or something like that, or do we only get that? I don't know if I'm teasing.
There were some really nice wings and
Yeah.
a portal.
Yeah, great.
I think so, but yeah, they look really good, those drops.
Excellent. Yeah, so make sure you hit that up. We're just about to go over to the live stage, and I can't wait to see what we're going to see from Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1. It's been very exciting. Thanks for hanging out with us for the Stall cast. I'm Ziggy D with Mathel, Rise, and Noogie. We'll sprint back over here just after the keynote is finished. There is not much time left, so we'll see you fine folks over there in just a moment. Thank you very much.
D4 bad.
Hey guys, how's it going? Parian here. And welcome to EXILECON! Thank you all so much for joining us here in New Zealand. It's quite a journey. Thank you guys for joining us online. It's going to be a fantastic show. So you guys want to learn about what's coming up in Path of Exile? Oh, you do? Yeah, me too. Yeah. Well, before we get to the people that are best to deliver that information, before we get into Path of Exile's wonderful future, let's take a moment to go over all the wonderful things we have already experienced in Path of Exile. Let's take a moment to check out Path of Exile from the past.
Life is fleeting.
A worthy opponent.
Go with God. Death to sin. The touch of God. Bow to your queen, mortal.
You there. Let me bend your ear for a moment.
Why are you so in love with death? Gaze into the abyss. What in damnation have you done? Putrefy, rot, spoil, and fester. Ready, Exile? It is time to hunt!
Let's make history.
Afraid of the dark, Exile? You should be.
My cause fuels me.
Do you remember dying here? You will.
It's branching, Exile!
Still sane, Exile.
To the grove, Exile. A harvest awaits.
This one should be rather legitimate.
Does the toy wish to play?
With me?
Your path to greatness has taken a hard turn toward a cliff.
Detonations incoming!
There's no time. I've become too weak to sustain the blood crucible.
Your sad defiance ends here, hatchling.
Another mortal wanders into my prison.
You cannot escape Medad's gaze!
One of many.
Thou creatures!
shit, it's the man.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Oh, this dude's so nervous. Look at him.
Welcome to EXILECON 2023. It feels like just yesterday that I was here on stage at EXILECON 2019 announcing Path of Exile 2.
What the hell is on that man's
Since
shirt?
then, we have worked tirelessly on the content we're going to show you this weekend. To everyone here in person, thank you so much for coming out to join us.
Light up,
it
boys.
honestly feels so good to know that people love Path of Exile so much that they fly across the world to come and celebrate it with us in person here. I really hope you have a great trip and make the most of your time in New Zealand. Our last EXILECON was a magical experience, and we've tried to go above and beyond in every way this time. If you're tuning in online to watch the live stream, thanks for joining us also. I wish you could all be with us here, but to ensure you have the full
Look how
EXILECON
white that man
experience,
is.
we have made sure to include every talk and session as part of the 2-day live stream this weekend. Twitch drops are enabled for the live stream, but if you're here in the audience, you'll automatically get them when you redeem the microtransaction code in your swag bag, so no need to stream it from your phones while you're watching. You'll also receive the attendee-only EXILECON 2023 hideout. We have so much to share with you this weekend, and let's just get right into Path of Exile 2. I'd like to introduce Jonathan Rogers and Mark Roberts, game directors of Path of Exile 2.
Hey. Yo.
Hey guys. While Chris has been running Path of Exile 1, Mark and I and over 100 other developers have been hard at work on POE 2. And honestly, the project has become much bigger than we expected when we announced it in 2019. It's been almost 4 years since then, and so it's about time we showed you what we've been working on.
Yeah, show me.
Oh, hang on. Okay. Sorry, I forgot. Okay. When we announced Path of Exile 2 at EXILECON 2019, we told you guys that we were releasing it as an expansion to POE 1 and that both campaigns would be playable in the same game client with a shared endgame. But POE 2's scope has continued to grow and grow, and it's far more than just an expansion with a new campaign. It has entirely new monsters, skills, mechanics, classes, everything you'd expect from the next generation of action RPGs. Not to mention revamps of most of the POE 1 League content. This thing is just freaking huge. There was a point when we realized that our plan to replace POE 1 with POE 2 would essentially be getting rid of a game that people love for no real reason. So we made a decision. Path of Exile 1 and 2 will be separate with their own mechanics, balance, endgames, and leagues. But it's still a shared platform. Your microtransactions are available across both games. Everything you have ever purchased or will ever purchase in the future will be usable in both games unless it's hyper-specific to the content of one of them. You can't transform into a bear in POE 1, so a reskin of your bear form isn't going to work. But you absolutely can equip the awesome armor set that you got and use all your stash tabs. So with that in mind, we'd love to show you a live demo of some of the stuff we've been working on. POE 2 has come a long way. Mark here is going to man the PC. Hopefully he doesn't die. It is a live gameplay demo after all. All right.
The gods caused all this, you know. After Oriath was destroyed, I traveled, searching for answers. Everywhere I went, the same divine devastation. It must end. I will end it. And no exile will stop me!
Yo.
D4 is fucking dead. Fucking dead, bro. Oh, man. fuck. Holy fuck.
This world will be reborn, no matter the cost.
P4 is done. Holy shit. Holy shit. I got a message, my boy. Holy shit.
All right, Mark. Your turn now. Welcome to Path of Exile 2. We'd like to start off by showing you some of the gameplay of Act 3, one of the 6 acts in POE 2's campaign. We're starting here in the jungle depths. Act 3 is set in the ruins of the Vaal civilization, which fell thousands of years ago. Jungle has taken over their former once great cities, and we'll be exploring it using one of the 6 new character classes called the Monk. In POE 1, we had 1 character class for each of the combinations of strength, dexterity, and intelligence. When looking at the design of POE 2, though, we realized that many of the new skills that we were trying to design just didn't really fit thematically with the existing classes that we have.
What?
Being a spellcaster,
Where are you watching it? I'm fucking stuck watching it on fucking Belton while he's playing like a dumbass instead of fucking listening.
It actually made sense to design a new
Go on the Path of Exile Twitch, bro. I'm streaming it. But I don't have drops. You want to get drops, you have to get the wings in like the next 2 hours of streaming. You have to watch an hour and a half of the next 2 hours of streaming to get the fucking wings. So watch it on the Path of Exile, actual.
Yeah, I'm on there. I'm on there right now.
That let you further specialize the class in a way that only that class has access to.
All I gotta fucking say.
But they both start at the same location.
Well, I mean, they are already ripping themselves, bro, and you need to stop fucking like thinking it's a war. It's not. Nobody cares.
No, but
they're separate game anyway.
It looks
and
good.
D4 is not gonna die because of that. D4 has still a strong player base.
Well, look at that fucking Yeti, bro.
Looks like we've come across the boss for this
I don't care
area.
about the Yeti. I care about the graphics.
Every area of the campaign contains a boss of at least this difficulty. That's over 100 bosses to fight as you make your way through the campaign.
Dude,
and they
that's
all
tight.
have unique
He's like
mechanics.
swinging a fucking pillar.
Yeah. No, I like that.
1,500 passives in 6-man parties.
Yeah,
Do you know how much more money that's worth in the 5-way? I got thinking
It's
about
weird that they make it standalone.
As you've been watching from Mark fighting here,
it's totally the opposite of what
too
everybody
much to try to, you know what I mean?
We've done a lot of things like
Mix
mobility to
it,
combat.
Yeah.
Practically
So
every
they
melee
decided
skill in
to just
POE 2
pull it
has some kind of movement built into it.
I like the new UI.
Monk in particular is a
New
melee
UI is
fighter
fine.
who specializes in
I'm not mad
mobility
about it.
over brute strength.
The blue mana could be bluer though. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
What the fuck was that move?
He's a monk.
That was.
So, as Mark has been
Yeah,
playing,
no, I
you might
know.
notice these blue
I'm
markers
definitely
of the
gonna play
enemies.
that, bro.
Mark has a
100%.
skill equipped called Killing Palm. Whenever an enemy has a blue indicator
Holy
over it,
shit,
it means
Monk
the monster
looks
has
sick.
low enough life to cull with Killing
Did you
Palm.
see the fucking, there's a
Successfully
mercenary with a
executing the cull will
crossbow?
give you a power charge.
There's a
Wait.
Since many of his skills
Did he
interact
just
with power
drop
charges.
gold?
One of the great things about the skill is that it has a built-in dash forward, which makes it much easier to target the
Interesting.
skill right at the point where you need it. We've done a huge amount of work in POE 2 to make
Very
using skills like this
interesting,
feel
actually.
satisfying. If you're accidentally targeting slightly off the monster,
That was
the
nice.
skill will automatically lock onto the colorable target
Oh,
and
what
will
the
even
fuck
do a
was
small
that?
amount of pathfinding around obstacles. We really want to make sure that when you've got an opportunity to use the skill, nothing is going to get in your way. Once you have some power charges, you're going to need some skills to power up. A great follow-up is Falling Thunder. Falling Thunder without a power charge just creates a relatively small lightning AoE in front of you. But if you do it with power
Look at the
charges,
thing it
turns
leaves
into
on
a
the
pack
ground,
clearer
too,
with
like-
a large number of extra projectiles. One thing to notice here is that, like almost every melee skill in POE 2,
The dude did say it
Falling
was
Thunder has a
them
little
2
bit of
and
extra
100
movement built
devs
in,
have been
just in
working
case
on
you
this
need
for
it.
3 years.
Why you
Use the
talk
skill
when
within
he's
range,
about
and you
to
just do
talk
flip in
about
place.
kills?
You use it at a larger range, and your character will move forward while executing it, getting you into position without any time penalty. In POE 2, you also get a short period to redirect your target. Notice how you can start the skill facing one way, then whip the mouse sideways to land the skill in a
Yes,
different direction.
that I love that. I love that.
Now, in order to get power charges, you're going to first need to get some lower life monsters into a cullable range. You've got a few options if you want to charge right in. Whirling Assault is great. It doesn't do much damage per hit, but it covers a lot of ground. And notice how you can turn as you do it? Generally speaking, you never lose control of your character in PoE 2. If you make a turn at the right time, you can get a couple of extra hits on the monsters, getting them in range of your cull. Follow up with a Killing Palm and then finish off the rest of the pack with your Falling Thunder. We've now entered the Vaal Mechanarium. This is the place where the Vaal built the various constructs that they relied on to power their civilization.
Okay.
Now this is a find. A Vaal ruin that hasn't been looted? I wonder why nobody's been in here before.
One useful feature we've added is the ability to call in NPCs to where you are to give you more information or help you with quest objectives, rather than always having to go back to town. In this case, we've called in Alva to find out what to do.
This mechanism.
Yo, that's
powered with a
sick.
small
That's
soul
kinda
core, it
sick.
could open that door.
That's so much more interactive and like nicer than going back to town. Like,
It's
what the
very,
fuck? That's cool.
what do you want to call it? Quality
As
of
Alva
life.
said, we need to find a small soul core to open
Yeah,
this door.
quality of life.
And then they do give you some storylines, you know.
If you want to shave
Kinda
off some
cool.
life without getting too close to some of the more dangerous monsters, a great option is Wind Blast. Wind Blast also doesn't do too much damage, but it keeps enemies back. The closer they are, the farther they're pushed back. So it's a great option for keeping smaller but higher damage enemies at bay. Note that the bigger the enemy is, the less they'll be pushed back. So trying to push back some giants isn't going to be as effective.
Yo.
And there's the soul core. Let's get back to the door.
I have a feeling like they're not showing like the good skills either. You know what I mean? They're saving some shit, bro.
I mean, even if it is, they're not gonna show the
Look, and you
combination.
actually watched her put the fucking thing in there too. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's not just like a poof poof.
No, you actually watched
It was in her hand one frame and it's in the thingy in the other frame.
Glacial Cascade
Yeah,
creates
exactly.
a wave
No,
of
you
ice
actually
moves
saw the
slowly in front of the
animation.
player. It's pretty ineffective against fast-moving monsters because most of the damage occurs right at the end of the wave, and so a lot of monsters will just walk right by it. But if you can find a way to make a monster
good
stop at just the
graphics,
right
bro.
place, it can be very effective.
The graphics are
In
good.
order to do that,
Yeah.
you're probably going to want to freeze some monsters. The monk has a few different tools to do this. A fairly simple option is to get right in the monster's face with Ice Strike. Ice Strike doesn't do too much damage at the first two hits.
But I
attacks
don't like
3
that
times in sequence,
they're
and you
doing
get off a
that though,
combo
because
that has a
it's
much higher
totally
chance to freeze.
irrelevant.
Get in there with the freeze, then roll back and finish
Showing
the job
skills.
with Glacial Cascade. Now, remember how Glacial Cascade is that extra damaging spike at the end? If you hit a frozen enemy with that spike, it shatters the ice on the enemy and does a devastating amount of damage.
Yeah, but it's
This is a
so
really great combo
irrelevant
against
to
bosses,
the
as you'll see
way
later.
that people play PoE.
Oh, yeah, and I've just been casually
This
mentioning
skill
rolling
is
around.
okay,
Don't
work
forget
like
to
that
mention
right
in
now,
PoE2
but
we added a dodge
mixed
roll to
in
every
with
character.
other
Just
support
press
jams,
spacebar at any time to
it
roll.
won't work like that, and people are gonna build, you know, something crazy. Stop showing us
There's
stuff
no
that is
cooldown
irrelevant.
and no limitations. And it even has pathfinding in it, so you don't get stuck on anything. When you when you dodge roll, you're not invulnerable. If something hits you, you're going to feel it, but most things aren't going to hit you. And that's because while you're rolling, projectiles and melee strikes will always miss. You'll have to roll out of the way of a slam that has AoE, but anyone swinging a sword or throwing a fireball is going to miss. Now, another important function of dodge roll is it lets you cancel out of any skill at any time. This makes it so you don't feel like you're getting stuck during a long animation when something's about to hit you.
Oh, that's nice.
It really changes how skills with longer attack and cast times play, and makes dodge roll a
Yeah.
very reliable feeling way to avoid attacks.
Well, it's nice because
one way to get out
it's
of the way of damage,
for
but the
sure
monk
like
specializes in
protecting
mobility.
you from
So it makes
melee
sense that it would
and
have some more.
projectiles, but you know you're still
Wave of
vulnerable
Frost
to
is one of our new attacks with a retreat built right in.
spells.
You move backwards and throw out a cold attack with a significant freeze. A great thing about this is that it puts you at a good distance to follow up with a Glacial Cascade and do a whole pile of damage.
Yeah, we don't care about the skills, bro. We'll learn. We're gamers. Oh yeah, it's scheduled and shit for sure, but like, you know. Oh, they're gonna let people play? Oh, that's cool. I'm curious though. It got me thinking, bro. Why gold? Like, we have currency in POE.
Another skill you can use to get some extra freeze is Shattering Palm. Shattering Palm is a palm strike that puts a small ice bomb on the target.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
The bomb will explode, doing some damage and a significant freeze. It's a great option against bosses
Lol,
where the wave of ice might not be enough to get that freeze off.
So
but
true.
You really want to get, but you still really want to use Glacial Cascade to get the damage bonus.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the
Final
gold.
skill we're going to show you
You're
today is Flicker Strike.
probably gonna need
It's a
still
monk
to
skill, and
fucking
another skill that
pick
consumes
everything,
power charges.
everything up yourself.
If you've played POE 1 before, you know what to expect.
Yes.
It's a great finisher for tough boss fights if you are able to get some power charges beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, it's not little. Yeah, it's cool, but it's not little details like that that'll make me go crazy.
Here we
That's
have
a big
Blackjaw,
boss.
former overseer of the Mechanarium. When the Val fell, he was turned to stone.
Oh, this
and now
guy's
guards
sick.
The area. In order to take down this boss, we're going to need all the tools in the Monk's arsenal, especially the combo of Freeze and Glacial Cascade. Now, if you're a POE 1 player, you might think you can't rely on Freeze because there's so many bosses that are immune to it. But in POE 2, that's changing significantly. In POE 1, Freeze is a binary mechanic. An attack freezes the target, or it doesn't. What this basically means is that in POE 1, we were forced to add freeze immunity to many bosses because Freeze just trivialized them. Because of that,
POE 2 will be a
only
scaling.
really rely on while pack clearing, and not something you could use as a core part of your build for boss fighting. In POE 2, though, all crowd control mechanics now have internal meters that allow you to build up to a freeze or stun, or whatever other CC mechanic that you're using. It's a little bit like poise from games like Elden Ring, though the meters tend to be a lot smaller than those games. When you freeze an enemy, it increases the amount of freeze you need to do to get another freeze, but the increased difficulty bleeds away slowly. More freeze will always let you freeze the boss more often, but this system means that you will not get out of control in party play or interact badly with other CC mechanics, allowing us to let these kinds of mechanics actually work against all bosses.
Oh yes, that was awesome.
Take two. All right, so this might be a good time to mention that in POE 2,
that's so
if
funny.
you die to the boss, you have to start again from the start.
Absolutely.
There's no boss cheesing. So hang on. Oh, there might be a. Are you okay? Oh, 1 second. One technical issue. It's just typing some cheats to. All right, we good? Back to the stream. All right. All right.
Round 2.
Let's go.
Whoever balanced that, like, come on.
looks good. I'm gonna. Oh man.
Get the freeze. Oh.
Holy.
Okay, do the. Oh, nice. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Yeah. This looks tight. Absolutely badass. Come on. Oh, hey.
Go. Freeze. Oh no! Oh shit! Whoa.
Oh shit!
Oh! Come on! No. Get it! It's so good! There you go!
After this.
No! Get him! Okay. All right. Okay, there we go.
Holy bro.
All right. Second time's the charm. So, Blackjaw has dropped a consumable quest item here called the Flame Core. It's a permanent +10 to Spirit. In POE 2, we really want to make sure that you feel rewarded for exploration. It wouldn't be much good if we made all these awesome optional bosses if we didn't have something great to find for killing them. One of the things you might find for killing a boss is permanent stat bonuses for your character.
I wonder what Spirit does.
All right, now because this random area is different, Mark will have to find his way to the exit the hard way.
This is, because I died, this is no longer rehearsed at all.
All right.
This way.
Need to use those killing palms more often, Mark.
Your fate is sealed.
Whoa. Lightning strike. Oh. I think you got completely lost there.
I have no idea where I am.
All right. Yeah, there we go. All right, here we are. Here's the exit.
I'm going to die to these sentinels somehow.
All right. Let's go right through. All right. All right. In order to help with the next area, we're going to call in a sorceress. I'd like to welcome Octavian to the stage, who's going to join the party with Mark, so they can play through together.
Oh, snap.
All right, 1 second. All right. Here we go. All right. The sorceress is the new intelligence-focused character in POE 2. While the witch focuses more on occult magic and summoning, the sorceress is themed around pure elemental destruction. Let's have a look at how she plays.
Noise.
This is the largest soul core I've ever seen. With this, we could power the canal systems. But it isn't charged. There is still latent energy in this machinarium from its ancient operation. These lines in the stonework should lead to generators. You might need to find some more soul cores to spin them up, but everything looks to be in surprisingly decent condition. Maybe the golems have been maintaining it. In any case, it should still function. We'll have to remove that large core from the wall, of course, but that shouldn't be a problem.
We have some skills here you're probably going to recognize if you've played POE 1 before, but they feel a bit different now. Spark is great in these tight passages since it bounces around. We've added a Pierce support gem to really allow it to hit an entire room full of targets. For a more single target focused skill, Arc is a great choice. It does much more damage than the first target that you hit. Now, if you find yourself surrounded, it might be a good idea to use Ice Nova. It hits all enemies around you and slows them down with a chill. Just be careful. Getting up close and personal isn't the ideal place for a sorceress to be. She doesn't have the defenses of a more melee-oriented character. In order to help with that, though, you could use Arctic Armor. In POE 2, Arctic Armor is a buff that builds up as you stand still. You can see the ice crystals forming around the character. They drop off if you walk. When monsters hit you, they take cold damage and build up to a freeze, so it's a great defense. Just be careful. You have to be standing still for a little while to get the full effect, so trying to stutter step using it isn't the best strategy. Now, Arctic Armor is an ongoing buff, but did you notice it didn't reserve any mana? How does that work? Well, we were pretty sick of the fact that in POE 1, basically every character was playing with no mana pool, so we decided to change the way that reservation works. In POE 2, there's a new resource called Spirit. Spirit is a dedicated resource that you can use for ongoing effects like Arctic Armor, Heralds, Auras, and Minions.
Fucking tight.
Everyone starts with 100 Spirit, which is enough for most ongoing effects. But if you want more, you're going to need to get some more Spirit, which is available on mods from items and on the passive tree. But if you're willing to give up your offhand slot, the easiest way to get it is by holding a Scepter. Find out more about that in the items talk later on. Now, if you want to increase the cold damage that you're dealing, you can always use Frost Bomb. It places a bomb on the ground that reduces enemies' cold resistance while it's ticking down. It's a great opportunity to use some cold skills before it explodes. And speaking of cold skills, a great skill to use on monsters with lower cold resistance is Comet. This is a new skill in POE 2 and it hits pretty damn hard. It costs a lot of mana and has a really long cast time, but it's worth the wait. It does a devastating amount of damage. To help you out of danger, your character moves back slightly as it casts. It's pretty hard to hit fast-moving opponents, but it's great on tougher enemies that stand still, or even a larger pack if you're further away and can predict where they're going to move. Now, if you run out of mana casting too many of those, I guess in an emergency you could use your free-to-cast Fireball. So where did that come from, you ask? Well, this is a great opportunity to explain the way that we've changed caster weapons in POE 2. Now in POE 1, caster weapons had a default melee attack that nobody used. And because they had that, they also had a bunch of attack mods that would spawn in them that were useless to a caster. In POE 2, we wanted to clean that up. So each staff now comes with a built-in free-to-cast spell. Just put it on and spam away to your heart's content. Now this particular staff is the base type that you'll get right on the starting beach, so it's quite likely that you'll have outgrown it by now. So that's why we've also made a lot of staves with more utility-focused powers for casters to use. Here we have a crystal staff. It has a pretty cool built-in spell called Unleash. Using it slams your staff on the ground and will allow you to triple cast whatever you cast with your next spell. Now of course, what you're probably going to want to use with that is something powerful, and Comet is a great option.
Oh shit! Oh my god.
You'll notice that Unleash is one of the few skills in POE 2 with a cooldown.
Good fucking night.
We really try to avoid using cooldowns because we really hate the feeling that combat is just waiting to cast your next spell.
Holy shit.
But it does make sense for Unleash since it's free to cast, and it's something we want you to use situationally anyway. Now, if you're facing something tough, you might need to try out Mana Tempest. Mana Tempest creates a circle of power which your character literally hovers over the ground. While in the circle, your mana drains, but it powers up all your spells. Lightning projectiles will fork, beams will chain further, and you also do a lot more damage. So, with all of these skills, here's a great combo to try. First, cast Frost Bomb to reduce the target's cold resistance. Then use Mana Tempest to increase your damage. Follow up with Unleash, and then triple cast Comet to do a truly insane amount of damage. Where those ghosts come from?
These ghosts.
Yes.
Whose fault is that?
This rare monster has dropped an uncut gem, and that's a great opportunity to talk about how skill gems drop in POE 2. Instead of dropping specific gems, you can find uncut gems. Just right-click on them and pick whatever skill you want.
What?
Ignore the, whoops. The gem will come pre-leveled to the level of the area that dropped it, so it's a lot easier to change between skills in POE 2. This time, I think it might be cool to grab one of our meta gems. Meta gems are skills that can have other skills socketed into them, changing how they work. In this case, we're going to select Cast on Shock. Now, let's equip this thing in the skill screen and choose which spell to trigger with it. I think Comet might be fun. Now, because Cast on Shock reserves Spirit, we'll need to first disable our Arctic Armor. We have to decide if we'd rather have the extra defense or the extra offense of the Cast on Shock using our Spark. In POE 2, trigger gems use a system of filling up cast time on each trigger. Basically, if a skill has a short cast time, it will trigger really often. And if it has a long cast time, like this Comet here, it will take a lot longer to trigger. You can see on the top left corner that there's a counter that shows you how long until the next trigger. Hopefully he shocks the monsters. There we go. And there you have it. That's using Cast on Shock. We've automatically cast Comet whenever we're using our lightning skills. So, we've found the generator. Time to power it up. As power is restored to the Mechanarium, all the constructs are coming back to life. We'll need to fight them on the way back to the charged Soul Core. So, one thing that POE 1 players might have noticed is this character has both lightning spells and cold spells. That's pretty inefficient, right? It's a big no-no for most builds because any specialization into cold or lightning isn't going to affect the other element. Okay. And generic elemental damage increases are not going to be as powerful as focusing on a single element. Well, in POE 2 we have another major new system to introduce to solve these kinds of problems. And it starts, oddly enough, with weapon swap. Now, in POE 1, weapon swap isn't really used much for its originally intended purpose. We imagined that people were going to be swapping in and out between different weapons to deal with whatever situation they were in. People just don't do that at all. And a large reason for that is because it's really, really awkward. In POE 2, we wanted to solve all of that. The staff Octavian is using here has an ice mod on it that makes it great for when he's using his ice spells. But we would also like to be able to make sure that this build works just as well for his lightning spells. If Octavian equips his previous staff in his second weapon set, you can see that it appears on the character's back. Now, we're going to open up the skill screen. If Octavian opens the skill options for his lightning skills, you can see here that you can choose which weapon sets are usable with each skill. First, we uncheck set 1 from being used by his lightning skills.
Oh, you gotta be fucking shitting me, bro.
Then we go through the cold skills and turn those off with his lightning
You gotta
weapon.
be fucking shitting me, bro.
Just take a second.
If I can remember where they all are.
Yeah. Now, when we use Spark, the character will automatically switch to the lightning staff on his back and then use the skill. And when Octavian uses his Ice Nova, his character automatically switches to his Ice Staff before using it.
Oh, motherfucker. Oh, shit.
You can configure each skill for which set to use, or both if you don't mind which. There's a very short time penalty to switching, so it can be good to leave some skills on both sets if it doesn't matter which weapon set you're using. But we still have a problem, passives. Wouldn't it be nice if we could specialize in both cold and lightning passives on the character? Well, in POE 2 you can. Hopefully Mark can deal with those monsters while we do this demo. So, we're on the passive skill screen here, and you can see that we are close to both a cold and a lightning cluster. At the top right of the screen, you can see that we have some weapon set specific points to allocate. If Octavian holds shift, he can allocate set 1 to the cold passives, and then allocate set 2 to the lightning passives. Now,
You gotta be fucking shitting me.
check it out.
Actually.
As we use our weapon swap, the skills allocate changes from one build to the other automatically.
You gotta be fucking shitting me.
So whenever we cast the appropriate spell, the character's passives reconfigure on the fly to the correct build for that spell. Now you can't do this with every single passive on your tree. Only points granted from skill books will allow this kind of dual specialization. So you're not going to be changing from a mace slamming warrior into a fire elementalist with the press of a button. But it certainly increases the number of options you have for builds. There's a huge number of places where the system can shine. You can augment your dagger shadow build with traps, or have a great curse set up on your witch with one spec and then move to your chaos debuff spells with the other, for example. It really opens up your options. Now another fun meta gem to try out is called Barrier Invocation. This works a little bit like the trigger gems I talked about before, but this one charges up as your energy shield is hit by monsters. We're going to put an Ice Nova in this one. The more energy shield you lose, the more charge builds up. Just get that one equipped there, yep. So yeah, the more energy shield you lose, the more charge will build up, until the point you're able to cast the socketed skill instantly. There we go. So you lose some energy shield, and at just the right time, invoke Ice Nova to cast all the stacked up copies in one instant cast. If you keep losing shield, you'll build up even more charge for even more casts. So it's a great defensive option in an emergency.
Overkill.
And here we are back at the charged soul core. All we have to do now is take it.
Just take it.
Over, what the? Don't die this time, guys.
Frozen? Nice. Wait. Away from the wall. Oh god. Frozen, no? Good.
Frozen, nice.
Helps that we're both doing ice damage. Cold damage. Heavy stun. He's heavy stun. Open. Nice. Frozen.
Stay still! Out of mana!
Frozen again.
Getting real lucky with those freeze procs this time.
All skill.
Now,
Nice. Frozen. Watch out, get away.
we need more time.
Get away from him. Get away. Get away. Triangle. Oh. Oh. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Charlie. Nice.
So that's Path of Exile 2. These areas, as well as around half of each of the first 4 acts, are available to play at the 3 demo zones around EXILECON. Now, if you're physically here at this event and you get to play the demo, just remember, it's a different game than before. It's a lot harder. You're probably going to run the first pack of monsters and just die. I really recommend you read the signs. They have good advice on how to combine your skills effectively, and remember, dodge rolls on spacebar, use it. You're just going to die otherwise. So your next question is likely to be, when is the beta? Well, we're in our last year of development, but we're still finishing acts, adding skills, and balancing everything. The closed beta is going to start on June 7th, 2024. Path of Exile 2 has been a long time coming, and we're incredibly excited to be near the finish line, but we're just not quite there yet. We're determined not to rush this and make sure we get everything right. In the meantime, there's a lot in store for POE 1. I'll hand back over to Chris, and he's going to talk about what's coming up. Thank you very much.
No rushing, yep.
So that demo was very hard for them to do in person. Like, I am very impressed it went that well. So as Jonathan explained, Path of Exile 1 will continue to be its own unique game once Path of Exile 2 comes out. We will continue to update it with expansions and leagues going forward. And because accounts and microtransactions are shared between the 2 games, and their expansion releases are offset from each other, it's super easy to jump between them and effectively play both if you want. So I'm going off script for a second here and just going to explain this a bit better. Imagine we release a Path of Exile 2 expansion, right? So everyone dives in and plays it. You give it, say, out of the 13-week cycle, you're going to play for, some hardcore players play for the first few weeks, some people play for most of the time. We're going to aim a Path of Exile 1 expansion to come out towards the end of that cycle, say 4 or 5 weeks from the end, which also lasts for 3 months. So because Path of Exile 2 has more content and is a significantly larger game, it will mean that you can play Path of Exile 2 for the majority of the cycle, and then either keep playing if you want to keep playing Path of Exile 2, or jump into Path of Exile 1 when its league launches and enjoy that, either for the entire period or until the next Path of Exile 2 one comes out. And of course, because your purchases are shared, if you were to buy supporter packs or microtransactions in either, they're just available on your characters in the other. Speaking of Path of Exile 1 expansions, we've got one coming out in just 3 weeks, on August 18th. Let's watch the trailer for Path of Exile, Trial of the Ancestors.
Souls such as yours do not go quietly into the night. They thirst for battle. They yearn to prove themselves. Welcome to the halls of the dead. Earn your place among us. Under Hinikora's watchful eye, test your mettle against the greatest warriors who ever lived. yourself in the trial of the ancestor. In the end, only one can become champion.
What the fuck?
Will it be you?
In the Kurui Afterlife, the fallen chieftains of each tribe participate in a tournament called the Trial of the Ancestors. You will journey to the afterlife, assemble your own team, and enter the tournament to battle those chieftains and earn valuable rewards. As you play through areas in the Ancestor Challenge League, you'll find tradable silver coins. Using them will take you to the Kurui Afterlife, where you will encounter Navali, who you may remember from the Prophecy League. Each coin allows you to play a match of the tournament. You start the tournament with a basic team consisting of 3 warriors. The tournament is double elimination, meaning you're allowed to have 1 loss without consequence. A second loss eliminates you from the tournament. Your team will compete against 10 other tribes, and you choose who you're going to challenge next out of the teams left in the tournament. When you start a match, you see the configuration of the enemy team and get to place your team of warriors on the battlefield to challenge theirs. You and your party of exiles will play alongside your warriors. So while this league does have many elements of an auto-battler, you're right there fighting alongside them. During a match, when a warrior dies, they respawn at their totem after a short time. If their totem is destroyed, then they are instantly killed and can't respawn. The team that destroys all of the opposing totems wins. If you're playing a hardcore character though, don't worry. Hinokora, the goddess of death, is watching over you and will restore your soul to your body, so you can't permanently die in the afterlife. Like that. In the Trial of the Ancestors, strategy and tactics are key. Every unit has its own strengths and weaknesses that must be utilized to win matches. The turtle is really slow and really tanky. It's perfect for either defensive positioning to stop flankers or offensive positioning to tank hits for you if you're pushing through the middle. It's not great in the center or flank positions due to its slow movement speed. The Tuatara is a quick and deceptive unit, which is relatively well balanced for all positions. This version of the Tuatara has a stealth ability, which makes it perfect for the flanking position to sneak through enemy defenses and take out unprotected totems from the side. The Goliath of Night is a disruptor unit, and it's ideally placed in a center position to intercept enemies that are chasing you. You can also allocate it to defenses so that it disrupts enemies that are trying to kill your totems by stunning them. So in this match here, we've set up a Tuatara in a flanking position, a turtle on defense to guard our totems, and a Goliath to follow us as we attack up the middle. Our plan is to work with the Goliath to distract the enemy front line so the flanking Tuatara can get through and destroy some of their totems. Teamwork. Upon winning a match, you earn favor and other rewards. I'll talk about the other rewards shortly. There are a lot. You have a separate amount of favor with each tribe, and you can spend it by talking to their chieftain to recruit warriors and purchase field items and equipment that your team can use. Each tribe has specific specialities. For example, Hinokora's tribe manipulates life and death. Rongo Kurai's tribe is slow and tanky, with an emphasis on stuns and knockbacks. You can recruit warriors from many different tribes and mix and match them together into your team based on what you need. Field items are items that are placed on the battlefield and can be activated during the match to, for example, revive a warrior or heal your entire team. If a field item isn't consumed within a match, it persists on to the next match. But your warriors, their equipment, and your field items are all wiped between tournaments. You enter each tournament fresh. Your success in a tournament updates your overall ranking, which helps you earn better rewards in subsequent ones. Speaking of rewards, let's discuss the good part, what you can earn for succeeding at the Trial of the Ancestors. You can tell this gets me excited. Okay. You get a reward as you win each round of the tournament, and these rewards are visible when you're selecting which tribe you want to play against. They'll help inform your decision, as some of them are regular rewards and some of them are exclusive new rewards you can only get from the Trial of the Ancestors. I'm literally tripping over my words to get to the part where I can explain tattoos. Okay. The Ancestors reward you with special tattoos that are not applied to your skin, but they're engraved on your soul. This process can transform what your attribute skills on the passive tree do, basically the attribute highway nodes generally. The regular ones can only be applied to basic attribute skills and allow you to convert your tree's attribute highways into something more useful for you. For example, this one converts a small dexterity skill into movement speed. Each tribe has its own exclusive passive tattoos. This tattoo converts a small strength skill into additional fire resistance. This one converts a small intelligence skill into additional lightning damage. And this one converts a small strength skill into one that summons a minion when you take a savage hit from a unique enemy. But don't go overboard on the number of skills you convert with tattoos, as you'll probably need at least some of your attributes left to equip items. Each of the 10 tribes has an exclusive unique item that you can earn. These rarely show up as rewards for defeating that tribe in a match. Katava's Hunger is a unique majestic plate that you can earn by defeating the Katava tribe. As you can see, it grants an immense amount of life for a single item, providing you don't have any life on any other pieces of your equipment. While this is tricky to accomplish, it also frees up all those other potential life slots to be something else that benefits your build, making it pure upside. This amulet is a unique item you can earn by defeating the Arohongui tribe. It has the powerful effect of causing your flasks to instantly recover life and mana whenever you're low. This could potentially be a powerful panic button, or maybe you want to build around permanently being on low life or mana, so all of your flask usage is instant. If you manage to win the entire tournament, you'll not only receive the reward for the final match, but Hinokora will also give you a choice of 3 additional... Of 3 additional exclusive items. Let's have a look at some of the things you may be offered. First up, there are 4 unique items that exclusively come from Hinokora for completing the tournament. This belt, for example, lists a plethora of really powerful properties, both beneficial and detrimental. While you're wearing the belt, the property shifts around every 5 seconds. You never know what's going to happen next. Will you always crit, always evade, never evade? Maybe you're able to find some ways to build around the detrimental effects to create as much upside as possible. Hinokora also has a selection of special, more advanced passive tree tattoos that you can only receive from her. This one transforms a 30 intelligence notable attribute skill into one that increases the level of all of your intelligence gems. You're only allowed 1 copy of the specific attribute combination tattoo on a tree. Hinokora can also award you with a new type of item called an omen. These are small items that sit in your inventory until a condition is met, at which point they are consumed and something happens. In this case, when you reach 25% life, your flasks are all replenished. Now don't worry, each player can only consume 1 omen per combat area, so you don't have any reason to fill your entire inventory with them. This one creates a portal on death. We made it for me. It won't try to save your life, but it will save you some time. This one grants you Soul Eater when you level up. It's definitely worth carrying around for that occasional massive power boost. Omens are tradable but hard to get, so use them carefully. I shudder to think about how much this one is going to be worth in the presence of those incredibly rare unique weapons from 320. Now note, going off script again here, back in the day, when we had stuff like the Prophecy and so on that let you upgrade to rare forcibly on a specific base type, we had to block the good items by putting crap uniques on the, sorry, I meant upgrade to unique. We put crap uniques on that base type so that you couldn't get it every time. Well, we stopped doing that, so a lot of the uniques that were upgraded in 320 are just the only thing on the base type. So items like this let you deterministically get something quite valuable, hence they are quite rare. The most exciting one, though. Finally, Hinokora can offer you a lock of her hair. This is a very special currency item that lets you foresee the result of using another currency item to craft something. This means, for example, you can know whether it's worth exalting your item because you'll know exactly what the outcome is. Hinokora's lock will slot into your crafting pipeline with powerful consequences. The Trial of the Ancestors offers a wide selection of valuable new rewards as you complete matches and tournaments. We really look forward to seeing what strategies you develop for building, equipping, carefully placing, and playing alongside your tribe. So that's the new Challenge League, but Path of Exile expansions contain more than just a new league every 3 months. In each update, we also augment Path of Exile's endgame and shift the metagame with new gems and balance changes. This expansion is no exception. I'm going to explain the other changes in a medium amount of detail. I'm conscious that we have both new and existing players. For new players, I'm going to try to include some extra content to help make the changes more understandable. You can find out all the detail in the patch notes and other information we'll be posting in the few weeks before release. Let's start with how the Trial of the Ancestors expansion expands Path of Exile's endgame. In December last year, we released an expansion called The Forbidden Sanctum, which introduced the Sanctum Challenge League. This league was a roguelike game set within Path of Exile where you would randomly explore a randomly generated sanctum one room at a time, alongside your regular play. You'd pick which rooms you wanted to explore out of several options and accumulate beneficial boons and detrimental afflictions that made your run easier and harder, respectively. Not only did Sanctum work really well as a league, but it also had the potential to be added to Path of Exile as part of its core endgame content, alongside systems like mapping, delve, and heist. Well, in this expansion, the Forbidden Sanctum is back. I've really been looking forward to this one. We're reintroducing the Sanctum as core content in Path of Exile's endgame. You'll initially meet Divinia, the Sanctum NPC, in Act 10. Sanctums are now tradable items that you can find while playing maps in the endgame. A forbidden tome represents a whole floor of the Sanctum, and its rooms can be played back-to-back, or you can take breaks between them and do something else if you choose. Upon successfully completing that Sanctum floor, the next floor is generated as a tradable item with all of the state of your Sanctum run built in. This means that the item stores what boons and afflictions you had, what rewards you've locked in, and how much resolve you have left. You can then either play this floor or trade it to someone else if it feels more beneficial. For example, let's say you manage to lock in a really valuable reward. The example here is a Mirror of Calandra, but you'll also notice that, do I have a laser pointer? It doesn't work on the board. Okay, 1 resolve. This is an example here where the player has a very good reward locked in, but a massive pile of dangerous afflictions and only 1 resolve on them. If you don't feel capable of completing the rest of the Sanctum from this point, then it would normally be a write-off, right? If you gave this to me, no way am I getting that mirror. But you can now trade the Sanctum state to someone else who is willing to pay for the chance to earn the mirror, or lose it. And you can look at expected value in economics, right? It's worth some percentage of that mirror. So you trade it for like 5 chaos to someone, they run it and lose their chaos. Your relics, which act as passive bonuses within the Sanctum, are locked in for the run when you start the first floor and can't be changed for the rest of the run. Speaking of relics, they're now tradable and have been rebalanced around this. To those of you wondering, we have decided against bringing back sanctified relics for now. A complete Sanctum run now requires killing the final boss, Lycia, in both her first and second form. She will always drop a unique relic, and these have been reworked and replaced as we rebalanced everything. An important aspect of the new Sanctum balance is that your primary defenses now have some effect on protecting your resolve. Your armor allows you to mitigate resolve loss, and your evasion grants you a chance to avoid resolve loss entirely, a lot like how armor and evasion work. Your Energy Shield grants you Resolve Aegis, which is a mechanic that works similarly to how Energy Shield behaves for life. In light of the new defensive opportunities and learnings from the original Challenge League, we've rebalanced the difficulty of Sanctum, especially in later floors, and have worked to add more monster and room variety to runs. We've added new boons and afflictions themed around the new defensive mechanics and have rebalanced many of the other ones. Like other optional endgame systems that involve tradable items, players who don't want to play Sanctum can trade their Sanctums to other players in exchange for an item or currency that benefits them more. Successful Sanctum play can generate a lot of rewards. It'll potentially be possible to build characters dedicated to Sanctum running and just farm Sanctums repeatedly in order to profit. Sanctum isn't the only improvement that Trial of the Ancestors brings to Path of Exile's endgame. We're also introducing 16 new Atlas Keystone passives to the Atlas passive tree. As a quick summary for new players joining us, the Atlas tree is a system that allows you to customize your endgame experience in Path of Exile. As you complete difficult as you complete different maps, you gain skill points that can be allocated in the tree. You could use these points to modify the behavior of different content you encounter in in-game maps to make it more difficult or more rewarding, or to behave entirely differently. The system allows you to double down on the content you enjoy and avoid content you don't. Keystones are really impactful passives that totally change how in-game systems behave. Usually they have an element of give and take and require you to come up with new strategies to take advantage of them. Each of these 16 new Atlas Keystones changes how you might interact with Path of Exile's endgame. Let's have a look at some of them now. We will reveal the rest of them before the release of Trial of the Ancestors in a few weeks. Extreme Archaeology completely changes how you play expedition encounters. Instead of placing a series of regular explosives, you now place one gigantic explosive. Every single chest or monster in the blast radius is affected by every remnant in that radius. Speaker of the Dead makes it so that tormented spirits can possess you rather than possessing monsters, boosting your stats instead. While possessed, you can touch monsters just like a spirit can, making them stronger and more rewarding. It's kind of getting silly at this point, isn't it? Blight is like a tower defense minigame inside Path of Exile. The Cassia's Pride Keystone makes it so that Blight monsters take significantly less damage from players and significantly more damage from Blight towers. This basically lets you go all in playing it like an actual tower defense game. Because we can. Lucid Dreams makes it so that Val's side areas in your maps are no longer corrupted, meaning that you can use currency items to change their mods. That's right, when you encounter a Val side area, the Keystone lets you craft it. Yeah, so we rebalanced the side area mods, we've improved reward outcomes, and we've made the downside mods a bit more punishing, just to make it interesting if you try to go for the good outcomes. You may also rarely encounter a unique Val side area. Destructive play makes it so that the Maven will summon between 1 and 3 extra random map bosses when you are fighting witnessed map bosses. This keystone is analogous to the Eldritch Altar keystones that make those influences more difficult but more rewarding. There are another 11 new keystones that we'll reveal over the next few weeks. Together, these 16 keystones mean that regardless of how you enjoy your maps, you'll have plenty of new ways to play Path of Exile's endgame in this expansion. And I should note, in the initial draft of the keynote, I painstakingly went through every single keystone. It took like 10 minutes. But we'll put them in the news to save you some time here. In the Trial of the Ancestors expansion, we're shifting Path of Exile's metagame in several ways. The first is by introducing 14 new support gems, which are designed to take existing categories of skills and provide entirely new ways to play them. For full information, check the final gem hovers when we post them in the next few weeks. Let's have a look at a handful of these support gems now. In Path of Exile, war cries usually buff your party but don't directly hurt monsters. The Corrupting Cry support gem turns war cries into damage-dealing skills by making them inflict corrupted blood on monsters affected by the war cry or by your attacks that it exerts. The Returning Projectiles support gem causes projectiles from supported skills to return to you, piercing all targets but dealing a little less damage. I think there's another example too. The Fresh Meat support gem causes minions created by supported gems to gain adrenaline, critical strike chance, and critical strike damage for a duration after they're first summoned. So you've got to work out a way to keep refreshing your minions, and it makes them a lot more powerful. The Flamewood support gem causes totems to trigger projectile mortars at enemies that hit them. This is particularly synergistic with totems that can taunt enemies, such as Decoy Totem, or one of the new Chieftain Ascendancy skills that I might talk about shortly. The Sacrifice support gem works on spells that you either cast yourself or through totems. These spells now sacrifice a percentage of your current life, or the totem's life, to gain additional chaos damage based on how much life was sacrificed. The Frigid Bond support gem affects Link skills and causes a cold mist to come over them. Enemies caught in the beam are chilled and are dealt cold damage over time. This creates a new tool for a cold damage over time build, requiring strategic placement of both yourself and your linked ally. I mentioned it was going to get silly. The Locust Mine support gem looks OP and affects attack skills that use bows and wands. Instead of directly using the supported skill, you throw mines in an arc that use that skill for you, targeting your location when you detonate them. In addition to these gems, there are another 7 that we'll be revealing over the next few weeks. In addition to the 14 new support gems, our balance work for the Trial of the Ancestors involved us revamping 2 Ascendancy classes. These are the subclasses that you can specialize in as you play through Path of Exile's campaign. Each main character class has 3 Ascendancy classes available. In the last expansion, Crucible, we overhaul the Pathfinder and Saboteur. This time, it's the Guardian and Chieftain, which are specializations of the Templar and Marauders, respectively. While we were very happy with the theme of the Guardian, it was falling behind the power level and popularity of other Ascendancy classes. Our changes in this expansion have modernized the class and will present you with more relevant build opportunities than before. Brace yourself. Okay. Path of Exile 102. Harmony of Purpose can power up parties using link skills. Time of Need now completely cleanses and heals you every 4 seconds. Radiant and Unwavering Crusade both fully embrace the Holy Summoner theme by giving you access to some exciting new types of minions that are exclusive to this Ascendancy class. We have this picture on the announcement page, pathofexile.com/ancestor for you to scrutinize. Next. While the Guardian's revamp was similar to that of the Pathfinder, the Chieftain has received the Saboteur treatment. To be honest, we were unhappy about many aspects of this Ascendancy class in its old form, and so we have completely redesigned it. You can play it now. It's basically an entirely new Ascendancy class with the same name and art and a new way of approaching its themes. Its new skills let you, among other things, cause enemies to explode, turn off enemies' fire resistance while you're stationary, convert passive skills to apply to fire damage, and have your fire resistances apply to your cold and lightning resistances. I'll just give you a sec more to read. All right, that's on the site too for you to check out. It's pretty powerful now. To celebrate the release of the Trial of the Ancestors, we'll be hosting a boss kill event. To enter, create a hardcore solo self-found character in the Ancestor League and race to kill all 7 Uber Pinnacle bosses on the same character. Note that unlike the last event we ran, this one is not a ruthless event. We'll post more information about the event and its prizes in the news before release. Best of luck to everyone. For the Ancestor Challenge League, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Shade and Disciple packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value and points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Ancestor League and will leave the store forever when it ends. As always, the microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect the character's power or progression in any way, despite how cool they look. The Shade series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. All right, the sarcophagus back attachment imprisons an unspeakable evil that struggles to break free. Nearby monsters send it into a frenzy, and enemy deaths provide it with souls to feast upon. The Stygian Waypoint shackles visitors to your hideout in chains, yourself included. These chains are just cosmetic, though, and they break as soon as you move. It would supposedly be a gameplay advantage to be able to imprison people. The Ferryman's armor set is so full of trapped souls that some of them try to escape. Moving while wearing the boots will leave souls in your wake trying to break free. The Infernal Portal opens a gate to the Netherrealm when you approach. This prompted a lot of internal discussion about whether using Hellfire to heat your hideout is actually safe and practical. The Demon-bound crafting bench allows you to enslave a malevolent entity to craft items for you. Be warned, it has a sharp tongue and will mock you mercilessly.
You chained me for such a paltry use?
The Nebula character effect causes items you pick up to orbit you in an ethereal cloud of loot. The Disciple series of supporter packs also contains 6 exclusive microtransactions. Look at dog. I'm going to put that in the top pack. The Hero's Landing Finisher effect summons a marble statue from the heavens to execute unique monsters you defeat. You decide whether it's the sword or the huge lump of rock that actually kills them. The Bell Tower map device heralds the opening of a new map with a peal of bells. Start to run out of portals, though, and it will reflect your desperate situation.
Yo.
This is fine. The Cathedral armor set refracts light through your character, creating beautiful patterns on the ground around it. If your life gets low, it responds in kind. The Observer Diamond Flask summons a tentacled mass that fires its eye lasers at enemies you critically strike while the flask is active. Again, cosmetic. The Currency Orb charge effect lets you pick from a number of different currency types to replace your charges with, as long as you've used that currency item anytime from today onwards. Some people, we have to store it in the database, right? Some people will show they can be part of the exclusive club of players who have actually used a Mirror of Calandra. This effect also causes your charges to display in town. So the theory is you go use your standard mirror, which we all have, right? The Faithful Hound Pet is a very good doggo, and it knows a few tricks. You can command it to sit, roll over, or play dead. And yes, you can pet the dog. These new packs are available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and purchases like these directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 1 and 2. Meanwhile, the Lithomancer and Enchanter packs leave the store forever at the launch of Trial of the Ancestors, so now's your last chance to purchase them. There's some good stuff in those too. Thanks for your continued support. The fun part. For the last EXILECON, we developed a special card game that encapsulated the full gameplay arc of Path of Exile over the course of the event. Players could defeat monsters, progressively upgrade their items, use currency items to craft their equipment, find and run maps, and eventually defeat pinnacle bosses to earn rewards. It was a whole lot of fun, and we've had so many requests to run it again. So this year, we're proud to bring you the 2023 version of the EXILECON card game. And like all Path of Exile expansions, it even includes a challenge league. In your swag bags, you'll have found a box of EXILECON cards, and then a gentleman outside will have asked to purchase them from you for real money. If you have any cards left, you can use these to challenge GGG staff members who are walking around EXILECON as monsters. They'll be wearing t-shirts showing the monster's stats, which include symbols for their attack and defense. Using the cards in your deck box, and those you accumulate by defeating monsters, put together one set of armor, one weapon and shield, or a two-handed weapon, and an amulet and 2 rings. To defeat a monster, the damage on your weapon has to be equal to or larger than the defense of the monster, and the defense on the armor and shield have to be equal to or larger than the attack of the monster. It's that simple. There are some wildcard symbols. It's explained on the rules in the box. Rings and amulets are pretty hard to find, and they can be used for either attack or defense. So to attack a monster, politely approach a staff member wearing the shirt, introduce yourself, and show them the set of equipment you want to use. If your symbols match, then you'll have defeated them, and they'll give you a reward and remove some of the durability from your items. They do this by clicking the card, so if you want to keep a card pristine, don't necessarily attack someone with it. It will get damaged in combat. Be careful not to waste your best items on low-level monsters. You're not allowed to attack the same monster twice in a row, so you need to explore EXILECON to find different GGG staff members. You can get maps by defeating monsters marked as gods. Take these maps to the map device to run them and progress through the tiers. On the back of the box is a list of quests. As you complete quests, you can visit the crafting bench on the top floor to receive rewards for completing those quests. While you're there, you can also use your currency items to modify your equipment. I mentioned that this year's version of the card game introduced a challenge league. That league is Delve. Accumulate sulfite and bring it to the Delve wall, sorry for the bad photo, it's hard with lighting, on the middle floor. Each sulfite card you hand in allows you to explore one tile of the Azurite mine. You'll all be working collaboratively throughout the event to delve deep into the mine, fight the monsters that lurk there, and uncover its treasures. And I feel really bad for the poor people that had to hang 3,000 cards on that wall. You may eventually be able to challenge the pinnacle bosses if you manage to get really far in the card game. I'm the Searing Exarch, Jonathan is the Eater of Worlds, and Mark is the Maven. Defeating any of the 3 of us will reward you with a Mirror of Calandra enamel pin. This pin is exclusively available for winning the card game and won't be sold in the merchandise shop. Each person can only receive a maximum of 2 mirrors, and when they run out, we can't give any more out, so try to win the game early. The reason for 2 is a very typical Path of Exile reason, 1 for you and 1 to trade. All right, it's almost time to go and experience EXILECON 2023. Aside from the card game, we've prepared a full weekend of activities for you. There's a busy roster of talks and interviews on the main stage and the streamer stage. We've posted a schedule at pathofexile.com/EXILECON so you can see what is happening when and where. The schedule also includes information on meet and greet sessions. Our special guests this year include a roster of many of your favorite streamers, but also some game development industry friends we've met over the last 16 years. We're proud to once again welcome the creators of the Diablo series, David Brevik, Max Schaefer, and Eric Schaefer, as well as Travis Baldry, who you may know from Fate, Torchlight, and his popular fantasy books, or even the books he's narrated. They'll not only have meet and greet sessions, but are also participating in an action RPG roundtable discussion alongside me and Eric tomorrow on the stage. In all of the developer talks and panels, EXILECON attendees will be able to scan a QR code on their phone to submit questions for the speakers to discuss in the panel or on the Q&A section of the talk. The Path of Exile 2 EXILECON demo is a large one, and you may want to play it multiple times this weekend. In each session, you can pick from one of 4 character classes, which start at various points throughout the first 4 acts of Path of Exile 2's campaign. Around half of each act is included in the demo, and your session time is limited to 45 minutes before you have to let someone else have a turn. Remember, as Jonathan said earlier, this demo is hard. Read the signs that explain how your skills combine together. Dodge roll is your new friend. You should also swing by the Path of Exile mobile demo at the chill out area on the top floor and check out its progress. It's coming along really well, and we'd love to get your feedback on it. We've created heaps of new Path of Exile merchandise, which is available at our merchandise shop on the middle floor. We've made 17 new t-shirts, which include a few from our community t-shirt design competition. We've created a range of 24 enamel pins. You'll have found a random one in your swag bag. If you approach me and I'm wearing a pin, feel free to swap for the one you've got if you'd like. Happy to trade. You can purchase the others in the shop. As mentioned before, there's also the super exclusive Mirror of Calandra pin that is only available to winners of the card game. Maybe you're able to trade for a full set. There are 2 new posters. One is the Atlas Passive Tree, and the other is the Periodic Table of Currency. In addition to reprinting the incredibly popular Celestial Cat socks, we've also introduced the Chaos Orb socks, better for business meetings. There's also a range of 4 desk pads to keep your play area tidy. You can check them out at the demo zone. We have a limited range of EXILECON 2019 merchandise available in the store as well. Make sure to hit it up early if you want some of this, because stocks of the older items are quite limited. We have plenty of new merchandise for everyone, though, and I think I might have underestimated that. The EXILECON livestream concludes tomorrow with our grand racing finale, where 4 players compete for up to $10,000 and the title of EXILECON 2023 Racing Champion. Afterwards, we're hosting an after party at 8 p.m. at the venue. If you're watching from home, please note that because there are multiple things going on at the same time here, and we can only stream one of them live, we'll be restreaming 3 of today's talks tomorrow before the event starts. So to be clear, they're occurring here, people can watch them in person, but you can't watch them at that time because we're streaming something else. So we're going to restream those tomorrow in the 3 hours where it's way too early to do it in New Zealand, but you can watch them online from the States and Europe. This makes sure that everyone is fully up to date on all of the talks that have been announced about Path of Exile 2 before the important Q&A in the morning where you get to ask the important questions. If you missed out on attending EXILECON this year, we'll be at Gamescom in Germany in August and PAX West in Seattle in September. At both shows, the Path of Exile 2 booth will have our EXILECON demo available to play and a small team of Grinding Games developers, including me and Jonathan, to chat to, and we hope to see you there. Thanks so much for joining us this weekend at EXILECON 2023. Have a great show, everyone.
G'day Exile, and welcome back to the second half, the post-stall cast. For you, I'm Ziggy D, joined once again by Mathel, Rise QT, and Nugian. We're going to have a bit of a chat about what we've seen so far, and there is a lot to go over while we distract you while we wait for the next upcoming segment, which will be Kriparian interviewing Jonathan about Path of Exile 2. So until then, though, let's have a little bit of a chat about some of the things we've seen. Why don't we kick things off with the separation of Path of Exile 1 and 2 into separate games, and what that means. What do you guys have any thoughts about that, Mathel?
Yeah, apparently they didn't own enough of my soul. So, like, instead of just, you know, playing as much as you want of Path of Exile League, a few weeks here or there, you know, maybe half of it, something like that, and then maybe do some other things. Instead, you're pretty much locked in a cycle of playing both versions now with new launches continuously, and I'm just going to be doing that basically for the rest of my life. So that's the big shock and twist for me, but other than that, Path of Exile 2 looked amazing, and yeah, nothing short of what I expected.
Awesome. Rise?
I gotta say, I was thinking that that's the right path for Path of Exile, and I mentioned it to a couple people, and they were all going, nah, no, there's no way. They're not doing that. Even developers were like, we're not telling you anything. Turns out, they're doing it. So, like Matthew said, I think there's plenty to be played, and it's going to be for a long time. I think they have a very nice schedule with those last couple weeks leading into another POE 1 or POE 2 expansion. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Noogie?
Yeah, no, I agree. Pretty exciting. I'm not sure, like, you're still getting POE 1 and 2 at the same time, just in POE 2 and all upgraded. So it's not we're going to have this weird split between 1 and 2. You're just getting it all in one package with enough content to, like, just... Yeah.
Oh.
I think them separating the games the way they are does answer a lot of questions about like how certain PoE 1 things might have changed over to the new system, PoE 2 and things like that. So I kind of expected that this isn't super unexpected, but what was really unexpected for me was the fact that they're keeping up with Path of Exile 1 expansions as well, like this split cycle. Like, I did not expect that in a million years.
I don't think anyone did.
Yeah, I thought PoE 1 was done, you know, just go Legacy and you could go back and play the old content if you wanted to, but I didn't realize there was going to be new updates to that. That's good. That's a lot of work for them. They're basically going to be splitting their office into 2 teams at that point and continuing development of both games.
And surely Path of Exile 1 only gets bigger and better from here as well, because for the past few years they've been working like largely on Path of Exile 2, and diverting less of their resources towards the PoE 1 leagues and all that. They've still been good, they've still been big, but like now if they're working on them in tandem, there's probably a large subsection of their team on Path of Exile 1 that maybe came back and kept doing the new PoE 2 systems on it as well.
I'm super curious what this means for the long term. Like, do the games get to steer in different directions? Does Path of Exile 2 get to develop in one way, while Path of Exile 1 continues in a different trend? Maybe Path of Exile 1 keeps that much faster gameplay. Maybe PoE 2 changes to this more combo-focused gameplay, a bit more interactive, and they might grow apart separately over time potentially, or maybe borrow from each other as well. Well, it could happen there, right?
Yeah, that's a real possibility, because I remember seeing those trailers and thinking that's going to be hard, especially with the Monk, that's going to be hard to fit into PoE 1, and I mentioned that before, and it turns out, well, they don't got to do it. And yeah, there's been a lot of talk definitely about some of the trailers that they've shown in the past, with the gameplay being more methodical, slower, more tactical, and PoE 1, let's be real, it's not exactly like that anymore. So yeah, I think there's going to be plenty for each type of player, but it's nice to have that opportunity to be able, just like with different games, just try something maybe with a little bit different pace, but at the same time, we don't really know.
Yeah, let's talk about that gameplay, just in an overall sense, the gameplay of Path of Exile 2, what it looked like. What are you guys' impressions of it? What are your first thoughts on that, Mathel?
I mean, I loved how crisp everything looked. But the ice skills, the lightning, the world that they, the aesthetics, exactly. The world they built there, and just seeing the new classes doing the new things. It was exactly what I was hoping to see. It was at some times I think a bit slower than I would have liked, but that's just how it is early on, and then especially during a demo. Yeah, you should have noticed that I think pretty much nothing was supported too much. There was a lot of extra passives unused.
Yep.
But you still want to be able to have your Path of Exile zoom and get through it pretty quick if you really want to. I'm sure we'll get that later on, but yeah, it looked just crisp.
Yeah, I anticipate that players will be playing that same content after a little while, twice as fast, right? With better links, better gear, better builds, and so on. For demonstration purposes, obviously slowed down quite a bit, but it does give you an idea of what they're going for there. And showing that, I think, does allow for us to see a little bit of the idea of okay, so maybe we have the fast encounters, players really crushing stuff really quickly, but then maybe at endgame, certain bosses or certain bosses where you're leveling have those longer encounters, and this is what Path of Exile can do with that situation. Here's much more dynamic gameplay. We did see very different styles of gameplay too, from the Monk and from the Sorceress. one felt like a fighting game, and then the other one had like meta skills and like a bit more like combination between those different spells and things like that. So how do you guys feel about that? Did you prefer one over the other, or?
I think just having the dodge available every class without a cooldown.
That's big.
Is crazy.
I say it didn't have a cooldown, right? Like, keep rolling. That's crazy.
And I saw some animation canceling with that too. Yep. That is very, very cool. I think that's much better. Hopefully it's going to be much better than what it is in current Path of Exile with some of the animation canceling. But yeah, absolutely. I think the Monk, pretty crisp. I think that was looking pretty good. The repositioning, the constant mobility, that's the sort of classes that I enjoy. So really looking forward to that.
I think the going to the PoE 2 and slowing it down a bit, and all the uniqueness of all the different kit with the weapon swapping and all that, I think you're going to be able to live more in a certain fantasy in PoE 2 than you've been able to be. Like, there's going to be more of a distinct feel to everything, where even as in PoE 1 you had flame dash on every warrior, like on every marauder, duelist, everything. Like, you were a spellcaster but also a fighter. It's like, so I think like they can really lean into like the uniqueness of every character, and I think that's going to feel real good.
Yeah, and then the weapon swapping as well. They haven't really specified what you can and can't do with that. They were talking a little bit about the different passives for like fire and lightning, but then can you do that with the types of melee weapons and switching that out? Like, that looks like a system that's got a lot of opportunity and probably going to be pretty tricky to develop around sooner or later.
That's what I figured. Looking at the melee, the weapon swapping, I thought it's an opportunity to be able to pick up like several different weapons while you're playing and actually spec into like a couple instead of just going for generic things and hoping that eventually you can commit to a weapon. This way you might at least be able to branch out into two different things, actually spec two different things, and then make a full choice later down the line. But yeah, I think it's going to have a big impact on melee as well as the casters.
Yeah, this all kind of like weaves into what you were talking about, of things becoming a lot more distinct. Like you can have more distinctive styles between each class, but also distinctive styles within that class where you've got a character that's swapping between two weapon types for melee, or different staves or different wands or whatever for different caster styles. And that weapon swapping system was nuts. I did not expect that. So, and I thought that they'd be doing something with the skill system, so they kept what they had shown previously with the skill system. We saw the menu where you can drop your skills in and drop your supports in. We saw some very interesting looking meta skills, but then also adding to that and expanding that with this weapon swapping system that actually, like, it looks like it works, right? That's the thing that struck me about it, is like, as a current weapon swapping system, occasionally someone uses it.
It works. It's just uncomfortable.
Yeah, like no one really wants to do it. There's like an occasional build that takes advantage of it for the most part, but mostly we're leveling off-handed gems, right? It's not very interesting.
What about the gems, though?
Yeah?
I mean, the fact that they're in the... You can just pick them. You get the uncut, the currency.
Oh, yeah, the uncut gem.
Oh, yeah.
That was nice, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be ruthless influence, because you can do that.
Right.
But you're so limited. While here, you can really mess around with it a lot. It's a really nice system, especially since there seems to be even more skills, and they're going to keep introducing, like they have been every league. Right now, they're focusing on support skills, but I would imagine those abilities are also going to come into play eventually, so it's just growing.
Well, some of our predictions were about shortening that time from like finding something cool to using it, and that system being able to get a new gem in the field without going back to town works for that, right? You find a cool new weapon, it's got a fire, it's a staff with like some fire skill or meta skill built into it that's going to work really cool with this thing. You pick up your cut gem that you got in your inventory and cut it up into something that's going to work with that, and then you change your build on the fly. And maybe it's also working alongside and synergizing, but different to your currently existing build on your other weapon swap.
Just having the icon on the UI, and you can kind of figure out what the different things are and what your style is, versus, let's say you're in PoE 1, you go to a vendor, and all you're faced with is a row of different shaped stone, and you don't really know what to do with it. So I think that's really going to just open up like just your creativity on the fly.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
A whole new level of speed running as well.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have to go back to town.
Yeah, well, Rise of Me doing the race tomorrow, and that'll be kind of like sealing off the PoE 1 era of racing somewhat. I'm super interested to see what happens with PoE 2, like competitive play in racing. Like, there's so much more that people can interact with there as well. I imagine weapon swapping setups being set up on the fly and cut gems being cut in the field.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think the skill ceilings just opened up quite a lot.
Going right up.
Yeah, for sure, because that was a big limit for a lot of classes in the past for racing. For instance, Duelist, right? It needs that access to all those different weapons, and wasn't the case, but it will be now.
Yeah, so much more dynamic and distinctive gameplay there, but we also saw a bunch of new classes, like more classes. What? There's already so many classes in this game. And then like with their ascendancies as well, like splitting that into so many more classes. So now, we got a mercenary, a warrior,
Huntress,
Druid, sorceress, and druid. Yeah.
Druid, yeah, there we go.
I'm shocked they didn't show the druid. Maybe
and that's it.
Yeah.
And they didn't get rid of any. I thought they were getting rid of some. Like I thought Templar was gone. I thought Templar was being replaced by monk.
Oh, really?
But they're all still there. It's like adding another class for each of the hybrids.
But they haven't talked about ascendancies, right?
Well, they did in the previous EXILECon.
Yeah,
they did touch on it.
No
Right, but they
relation
didn't
anymore.
give us the info on it. No.
Yeah, not yet. I'm guessing in one of the later panels.
All right, I'm going to shut this down for now.
Down a little bit.
That's all I
it
really
seems like
wanted to
their
see.
intent is to give much more distinctive starting points now. So like